In the golden age of sailing ships and distant horizons, in the magnificent city of Baghdad where the caliph's palace gleamed with jewels and the markets overflowed with goods from every corner of the world, there lived a man whose name would become legendary across all the seas. His name was Sinbad, and his story is one of incredible adventures that teach us that true success in life requires both courage to face the unknown and intelligence to survive what you find there. Sinbad had not always been the famous sailor whose tales captivated audiences in every port. He started life as the son of a wealthy merchant who left him a substantial inheritance when he died. Young Sinbad, inexperienced and foolish, spent this money carelessly on parties, fine clothes, and expensive pleasures. He lived like every day was a celebration, never thinking about tomorrow, never considering that wealth could run out. And run out it did. Within a few years, Sinbad found himself poor, his father's fortune completely wasted, with nothing left but regret and the realization that he had been incredibly stupid. But this moment of hitting bottom became the turning point in Sinbad's life. Instead of giving up in despair or blaming others for his situation, Sinbad made a decision that would define his character. He would take responsibility for his mistakes and rebuild his life through his own efforts. He looked at the world with new eyes and realized that Baghdad, great as it was, sat at the crossroads of global trade. Ships sailed from its ports to incredible distant lands and returned with valuable goods. Sinbad decided he would become a merchant sailor, using whatever small amount of money he could scrape together to buy trade goods and sail to foreign ports where he might make his fortune through honest trade. What Sinbad didn't fully realize was that ocean voyages in those days were extraordinarily dangerous. There were no accurate maps, no weather forecasting, no coast guards or rescue services. Sailors navigated by stars and instinct, faced violent storms that could appear without warning, and ventured into waters where the normal rules of the world sometimes didn't seem to apply. The seas held mysteries and monsters, strange islands with bizarre inhabitants, and dangers that no one sitting safely in Baghdad could possibly imagine. But Sinbad had courage, not the reckless courage of someone who doesn't understand danger, but the true courage of someone who understands the risks but faces them anyway because the alternative is to give up on life. On his first voyage, Sinbad joined a merchant ship that sailed from Baghdad into unknown waters seeking new trade routes and profitable goods. For many days, the voyage went smoothly. The ship sailed through calm waters under clear skies, and Sinbad began to think that perhaps sea voyages weren't as dangerous as people claimed. Then one day, the sailors spotted what appeared to be a beautiful island in the distance. The captain, eager to refill their water supplies and let the crew rest, decided to anchor near the island. The sailors went ashore and began exploring. The island seemed perfect: green grass, fresh water, pleasant weather. Some men built fires to cook food. Sinbad walked around marveling at this peaceful place. But suddenly, the entire island began to shake and move. To the sailors' absolute horror, they realized this wasn't an island at all. It was an enormous whale that had been sleeping on the ocean surface so long that earth and plants had grown on its back. The fires they had built on its back had woken it up, and now the creature was diving back into the depths of the sea. Chaos erupted. Sailors ran in every direction, trying to get back to the ship. The whale sank deeper and deeper, and the ocean began pulling everything down with it. Sinbad ran toward the ship, but he wasn't fast enough. The ship's captain, seeing the whale diving and fearing his vessel would be pulled under, ordered the sails raised immediately. The ship began moving away, leaving several sailors, including Sinbad, stranded in the water as the whale descended into the depths. Sinbad found himself alone in the vast ocean, struggling to stay afloat, watching his ship disappear in the distance. Many men would have given up in that moment, letting the sea take them. But Sinbad used his intelligence even in this desperate situation. He grabbed hold of a large wooden feeding trough that had been on the island and was now floating in the water. He climbed onto this makeshift raft and clung to it, using it to stay afloat. Then he used his understanding of currents and his observation of where the sun was positioned to figure out which direction might lead him toward land. For 2 days, Sinbad drifted on his wooden raft, exhausted, thirsty, and sunburned. But he never gave up hope, and his perseverance was rewarded when the currents finally carried him to a real island with actual land. He dragged himself ashore, found fresh water and fruit, and slowly recovered his strength. Using his intelligence and observational skills, Sinbad explored the island carefully and discovered it was inhabited by merchants who had come there to trade. He befriended them with his courtesy and good manners, helped them with their work, and eventually earned passage on their ship back to Baghdad. Through clever trading with the small resources he had, he even managed to return home with more wealth than he had started with. You might think this terrifying experience would have convinced Sinbad to never sail again, to stay safely in Baghdad and be content with what he had. But Sinbad had discovered something important about himself. He was alive in a way he had never been when he was wasting his inheritance on meaningless pleasures. The challenge, the danger, the need to use both his courage and his intelligence to survive, these things gave his life meaning and purpose. So after spending some time in Baghdad, Sinbad prepared for a second voyage. His second journey brought different but equally incredible challenges. His ship was caught in a violent storm and blown far off course to an island where they discovered a valley filled with diamonds, precious gems beyond imagination, just lying on the ground. But this valley was also home to enormous serpents that could swallow a man whole. The diamonds were impossible to reach safely because the serpents guarded the valley floor. Sinbad observed local hunters who had developed a clever method. They would throw pieces of meat into the valley, and when giant eagles came to grab the meat, diamonds would stick to the meat. When the eagles flew back to their nests at the top of the cliffs, the hunters would scare them away and collect the diamonds stuck to the meat. Sinbad's intelligence and courage came together in a brilliant but risky plan. He tied himself to a large piece of meat and had himself thrown into the valley. When an eagle grabbed his meat to carry to its nest, it carried Sinbad with it, lifting him out of the serpent-filled valley. The hunters at the top were shocked to find a man tied to the meat, but Sinbad shared the diamonds he had collected with them generously, and they helped him get back to civilization. Once again, he returned to Baghdad wealthier than before, his survival depending on both his bravery in executing a dangerous plan and his smarts in thinking of the plan in the first place. Voyage after voyage, Sinbad faced incredible challenges that tested both his courage and his intelligence. On one journey, he encountered the Old Man of the Sea, a strange creature that climbed on his shoulders pretending to need help crossing a stream, but then wouldn't get off, clinging to Sinbad's neck and forcing him to carry it everywhere, slowly draining his strength. Many men had died as slaves to this creature, but Sinbad used his intelligence to devise a plan. He made wine from grapes he found, got the old man drunk, and when the creature's grip loosened, Sinbad threw him off and escaped. Courage alone wouldn't have saved him. He needed the clever idea of using wine. On another voyage, Sinbad's ship was attacked by the roc, a bird so enormous it could carry elephants in its talons. The roc destroyed their ship because the sailors had accidentally harmed one of its chicks. Sinbad found himself stranded again, but he observed that the roc carried large animals to a particular valley. With tremendous courage, he tied himself to the leg of the roc using his turban, and when the bird flew, it carried him far across the ocean to another land. This wasn't just bravery, it was intelligent observation of the bird's behavior combined with the courage to act on that observation. Perhaps Sinbad's most terrifying adventure involved being captured by cannibals who fattened up sailors before eating them. Sinbad watched carefully and noticed that the cannibals gave their prisoners a special food that made them passive and unthinking. While the other sailors ate this food and became docile, Sinbad refused it, staying alert and clear-minded even though he was desperately hungry. He observed the cannibals' routines, noticed when they were least vigilant, and planned an escape. When the opportunity came, he had the courage to run, helping those sailors who had retained enough wit to follow him, and they escaped into the jungle. Again, it was the combination: intelligence to observe and plan, courage to act when the moment came. Through 7 complete voyages, Sinbad faced dangers that would have killed most men. He encountered giant serpents, aggressive apes, burial alive with the dead, being sold into slavery, shipwrecks in storms, attacks by pirates, and confrontations with creatures from nightmares and myths. Each time, his survival depended not on magic or supernatural powers, but on his very human qualities: courage to face fear, and intelligence to think his way through problems. What's remarkable about Sinbad is that he learned and grew from each experience. After his first few voyages, he developed a pattern of careful preparation. Before sailing, he would study the maps and tales of previous travelers. He learned to observe carefully before acting. He developed skills in navigation, weather prediction, and reading people's intentions. He understood that courage without planning is just recklessness, while planning without the courage to act is pointless. Sinbad also learned the importance of treating people well. On his voyages, he befriended crew members, merchants, and people he met in foreign lands. These relationships often saved his life. When he was generous with the diamonds from the valley, the hunters helped him. When he was courteous to the merchants on the first island, they gave him passage home. When he treated everyone with respect regardless of their station, people were more willing to help him when he needed it. Intelligence includes social intelligence, understanding that how you treat others shapes your own future. Between voyages, Sinbad would return to Baghdad and use his wealth wisely. Unlike his youth when he wasted his inheritance, he now invested in businesses, helped other young merchants get started, and supported his family and community. He shared his stories not to boast but to teach others the lessons he had learned. His tales became famous, and people would gather to hear about his adventures, but more importantly, to learn from them. One particular story Sinbad loved to tell was about a time he was buried alive. In one land he visited, there was a custom that when someone died, their living spouse would be buried with them in a deep cavern. Sinbad had married a woman from this land, and when she died suddenly from illness, he found himself being lowered into a dark burial cave with limited food and water, expected to die there beside his wife's body. Most people in this situation would have simply given up to despair. But Sinbad's intelligence told him there must be a way out. After all, if bodies were constantly being lowered into this cave, there must be a way the creatures living in the cave got in and out. He carefully explored the cavern, rationing his food and water intelligently. He discovered that jackals were entering through a crack in the cave wall to feed on the bodies. Following this crack, he found it led to a tunnel that eventually opened onto the seashore. But Sinbad didn't just escape and leave. He realized that the other people buried alive before him would have had possessions, jewelry, and valuable items buried with them. He made multiple trips back into the cave, collecting these treasures from the dead, and eventually when a ship passed near the shore, he had both his freedom and enough wealth to pay for passage home. This story perfectly illustrated Sinbad's philosophy. Courage got him exploring the dark cave, intelligence helped him find the way out, and smart thinking turned even a terrible situation into an opportunity. After his seventh and final voyage, Sinbad decided to retire from sailing. He had accumulated great wealth, but more importantly, he had accumulated great wisdom. He had learned that the world was vast and full of wonders and terrors both. He had learned that a person could overcome almost anything with the right combination of bravery and brains. He had learned that adventures weren't just about exciting experiences but about growth, learning, and becoming more capable. Sinbad established himself as a respected merchant and advisor in Baghdad. Young people would come to him asking for advice about whether they should undertake risky ventures, travel to distant lands, or try new things. Sinbad's answer was always the same. Adventure requires both courage and intelligence. Courage alone will get you killed. You'll rush into danger without thinking and not survive. Intelligence alone will keep you too safe. You'll see all the risks and never try anything. But together, courage and smarts are unstoppable. Be brave enough to try, but smart enough to plan. Face your fears, but use your brain to stack the odds in your favor. He would tell the young people about the Whale Island, teaching them that not everything is what it appears to be, and you must stay alert and observant. He would describe the Diamond Valley, showing them that sometimes the solution to an impossible problem requires creative thinking and calculated risk. He would explain his escape from the Old Man of the Sea, demonstrating that you can't always overcome problems with force. Sometimes you need strategy and cleverness. Sinbad's story spread far beyond Baghdad, becoming a legend told in ports and palaces across the known world. But the most important audience for his tales was always the young people of his own city, the next generation who would face their own challenges and adventures. He wanted them to understand that life itself is an adventure that requires both courage and smarts. "Look at how I started," he would remind them. "I was a foolish young man who wasted everything my father left me because I had no sense, no discipline, no vision beyond immediate pleasure. I could have spent the rest of my life bitter about that mistake, or I could have played it safe and lived small. Instead, I chose adventure, but I learned to approach it intelligently. Each voyage taught me something. Each challenge I survived made me smarter about the next one." He taught them that courage doesn't mean not feeling afraid. "I was terrified floating on that wooden trough in the middle of the ocean," he would admit. "I was scared to death tied to that piece of meat being carried by an eagle. I was horrified buried alive in that cave." Fear is natural and often wise. It keeps you alert. Courage means acting despite the fear, thinking clearly even when you're afraid, and pushing forward when everything in you wants to give up. And he taught them that intelligence in adventure isn't just about knowing facts or being educated. "Some of the most educated men I sailed with died on those voyages," he would explain, "because they couldn't adapt when their book knowledge didn't match the reality they faced." Intelligence means observing carefully, learning from what you see, adapting to new situations, thinking creatively when normal solutions don't work, and most importantly, learning from both your successes and your mistakes. Sinbad lived to old age, wealthy and respected, surrounded by family and friends. He had seen wonders that most people couldn't imagine and had survived terrors that would have destroyed lesser men. But he considered his greatest achievement not the wealth he had accumulated or even the incredible adventures he had survived, but the wisdom he had gained and could pass on to others. As he grew older, Sinbad would sometimes walk to the harbor in Baghdad and watch the ships preparing to sail to distant lands. Young sailors would load cargo, and captains would study their maps, and Sinbad would smile, remembering his own youth and his own voyages. Sometimes a young person would recognize the legendary sailor and ask him, "Do you miss it? Do you wish you could sail again on one more adventure?" Sinbad would think carefully before answering. "Every day of my life is still an adventure," he would say, "just a different kind. Running a business well requires courage and smarts. Raising a family requires courage and smarts. Helping your community, standing up for what's right, building something that lasts, all of these are adventures. I'm grateful for my sailing days and the lessons they taught me. But those lessons apply to every adventure life offers, not just the ones that involve ships and seas and distant islands." And that, perhaps, was Sinbad's greatest wisdom, that while his specific adventures involved fantastic elements, giant birds and diamond valleys and cannibals and sea monsters, the lessons were universal. Every person faces their own adventures, their own challenges that seem overwhelming, their own moments when they must choose between courage and cowardice, between smart thinking and panic, between giving up and pushing forward. The legacy of Sinbad the Sailor lived on, not just in the thrilling tales of his voyages, but in the countless people who heard his story and learned that adventure, whatever form it takes in your life, requires both courage to face it and smarts to navigate it successfully. Together, these two qualities can carry you through anything, from surviving on a whale's back to building a meaningful life in whatever waters you find yourself sailing.